Just remember that if you don't want to be known as a cult, then don't act like one. If you don't want to be known as a group of people that censor all criticism and outcast any members who don't unanimously praise their guitars, then maybe don't delete comments on your video that you made where you got really butthurt about me having any criticism whatsoever about Kiesel. Or I can make a video where I can give them possibly the highest praise that you can give a guitar company or a guitar in this, certain price range, which is there is no better way to spend $1,800 to $2,100 in the modern guitar market than with a fucking Kiesel. Especially if you can contain your wallet and not go ham on the upgrades, you are going to get the best built guitar for that money next to maybe a PRS S2 or an Ibanez Prestige. Those three are on the same lines. But I can make that and still try to give a cautionary tale to the consumer that watch out for the swamp ash bodies because they do have neck dive and they kind of balance funky on the Aries with all of these contours. Kiesel tends to use a very light swamp ash body, and this is not a swamp ash headstock. I think it's like a maple. I don't actually know what the wood is up here. But either way, with those locking tuners, the balance is horrible. And just a cautionary tale. Word to the wise, do not order the swamp ash body unless you're gonna do maybe a black limba body and a, like a maple, flame maple top. That's your move instead. Don't do the swamp ash body. But great guitar nonetheless, built phenomenally. I wish that I could do it again and do it with the knowledge that I have now and get a better built guitar. But no, Kiesel hears that and the fans get a little butthurt about it. Butthurt enough to make a video about it where they delete any comments criticizing the gentleman or telling him to go and actually watch my video. No. So now that my intro rant is done, we need to talk about something because this is not going to be a Kiesel hit piece. This is going to be a discussion about the criticism of guitar companies and their CEOs and conflating the two with their products. We need to expand on this. So let's get into this. Number one, yeah, Kiesel has a cult-like fan base. I don't think it's the actual people from Kiesel who are being this at this point. Yes, a couple years ago, Jeff did something really stupid where he criticized a long-term customer over something relatively minor where the customer was being very understanding and very patient, and Jeff kind of just made himself look like a complete asshole in that matter. But that is in the past. That is about 5 years ago. And guess what? People have bad days. It's not like he's a terrorist. It's not like he is a It's not like he hurt anyone. He just seemed to be a little bit overly prideful in that moment. And maybe that's what he actually thinks behind closed doors, and he hates anyone who criticizes their company. But he hasn't done anything since then, and let's be honest, it's really not that big of a deal. It's pretty cool that a CEO is willing to put themselves on camera on a live stream as often as Jeff Kiesel does, where you run the risk of saying something stupid in front of the public and having it clipped for all of eternity. And I'm gonna also bring in Paul Reed Smith. People tend to criticize the ever-loving fuck out of Paul for his love of Tonewood and thinking that toners affected the tune, and then that one specific video of him in that music store where he was kind of a butthole, but not really that bad. Again, not a terrorist. It just gave people more ammo to criticize these very expensive guitars, which is probably what it comes down to. I don't know if it makes you feel threatened, like that there's a very expensive guitar out there and the owner believes that it's justified for reasons that you don't think justifies it, but that's besides the point. Going back to the inability for Kiesel to tolerate any criticism whatsoever, I would say that that is more found in the fans, again, and not the people up top. I have talked to a lot of people in the Kiesel community who work there or who are endorsed by Kiesel, and they have been following me and sending me direct messages since I had about 500 followers on Instagram a couple months ago. However, none of them have ever taken any problem with anything that I've ever said about Kiesel. And remember, I made a video where I said that they were basically a death cult. It's the fans who seem to be totally crazy, and they have left comments on all my videos about Kiesel, and they have this time gone as far to make an actual video about me. Congratulations, Harrison. I am now the news. I am now the slop. People are making slop content reactions about me. But let's get into this. I'm not going to attack this gentleman for not mentioning me by name or Top Shelf Gear, who coincidentally released a video on the very same day as me talking about how his Kyber has a very bad neck dive. This gentleman, who seems to be very out of breath throughout the entire video, it's not that serious, dude. This is not a big deal. But you brought it up and you weren't mentioning me, so I'm gonna mention you. It's the public arena, dude. It's social media. Get over it. It's not a big deal. You make Kiesel look bad when you do this. When people see it, they send me messages about how I was going to buy a Kiesel, but now I am not because I don't want to give my money to to people like that. You are pushing people away from Kiesel, not me. And I'm not even going to address the points in your video because it was made in bad faith. You contradict yourself multiple times and you don't give me an honest chance. You clearly didn't watch the video and you ignore all the praise I gave to Kiesel and you turn it into a video about a guy complaining about neck dive, which one, doesn't exist, but then you talk about how you can just shift it to your left leg, which you obviously didn't watch my video where I demonstrate all of the neck dive, or you're just omitting that because again, it is made in bad faith. I'm sorry that I seem to have attacked your ego and your well-being and your existence on this earth by mentioning neck dive with a swamp ash body on Kiesel and to just get a different body would, but no, you seem to not like that at all, and you make a video and then you delete my comment multiple times, and I see you deleting other people's comments who are in support of my video. This is why you earned the title of being the Kiesel cult. You are giving them a bad name. It's not Jeff, it's not the endorsed artist, it's not John Dreddo. God damn, I love that man. Take a deep breath, work on your cardio because you clearly need it, and just relax, dude. Everything is cool. It's not a big deal. Kiesel is a phenomenal company. They build some incredible guitars and they deserve their popularity. So now let's talk about Paul Reed Smith because they also get a lot of shit on the internet. I think that PRS gets the hate that they do because Paul is so outspoken and adamant that anything that the string comes into contact with is going to affect the tone of an electric guitar. That includes the wood, that includes the cap on the wood, that includes the bridge, the frets, the tuners, everything. And while that is a conversation for a different day, it has given a lot of people ammunition to paint PRS as dumb boomers who can only play 3 cowboy chords and only buy expensive electric guitars because they are a dentist or a lawyer or some idiot who believes that the flamed maple cap and mahogany body is the key to the tone and it's the frets and the tuners that make the difference and we're all just dumb and gullible and throwing our money away. And I am definitely going to make a video that goes into these things, that goes into the PRS hate and the attitude towards the company, as well as do these things actually matter and affect the sound of an electric guitar. I am going to get into that soon, but not in this video because that's not what this is about. This is going to be a video about how people often attack guitar companies that they've honestly never tried out or that they are only doing so because of their perceived image of the CEO and or the fan base, which I think is something that we need to stop. This goes both ways when I talk about Kiesel and when I talk about PRS, the fans and the proud owners of them and the crazy fanatics of them. Just chill out, dude. Everything is cool. No one is attacking your ego or your identity as a human being. And if you are so closely tied with the guitar company that you can't handle the slightest bit of criticism of their CEO or of their guitars in general, then you should just go do something else or reevaluate your priorities. None of this is that serious or worth getting stressed over. None of this is worth writing off an entire company and their entire fan base or a person who makes a review of a guitar that you don't perfectly agree with. None of this warrants you getting so upset about, and that is what creates the negative image that people have of that guitar company. When you freak out about it, when you get all butthurt about things, and you post about it in the Kiesel forums and you delete comments, or when Paul goes on that fucking like music channel page, whatever it was, and he says, and he kind of acts like a jerk towards people who are critical of him. Look, I'll be honest with you, I don't like it when I see people making fun of Paul. That guitar right there is my pride and joy. I'm obviously emotionally attached to it on some level, and I also feel like a lot of the criticism towards him is not fair or in bad faith. However, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't mean that we can't still have a good conversation about guitars and music or about PRS in general. But the people on the other side of the aisle also need to not freak out whenever someone suggests that maybe there's more to it than the pickups in your fall IR cab that affects an electric guitar's tone, because not everyone is playing with the gain on 15. You see what I mean? Both sides need to relax, be open to being wrong, and be open to a little bit of criticism. And on the general topic of people writing off a company because they don't like the CEO or the owners of the company or the people who work there, that is a personal choice, of course, but I would encourage you to look around and ask yourself, how many CEOs are actually putting themselves on camera? Whether it be a live stream or a pre-produced video, I think that is something to be respected. It's a risk. That's why most CEOs don't do it, and they hide behind a board and committees, or a nice PR team, or a nice script, or a teleprompter, yada yada yada. Which, I mean, there may be a script or a teleprompter, but you get the idea. It is respectable and commendable that they go out there and show their face to their fans and to the world and are open to criticism. Anyone who puts themselves out there into the public arena of scrutiny deserves to should be applauded a little bit, at least in my opinion. But that doesn't entirely make up for the things that they do and say. So that is up to each individual person to be the judge of. Do you think that Paul and Jeff are that bad where you should write off their guitars and attack people in TikTok comments while you hide behind an anime profile picture? I don't know. Maybe you feel justified in doing that. Maybe you don't want to buy a Nike iPhone or a cell phone or what. I don't fucking know what they are anymore. Maybe you want to buy something where they use slave labor to make it affordable over here. I don't really know or care unless they are a genuinely horrible human being, which in this case, I do not think Jeff and Paul are. Breaking fucking news. So maybe Jeff is a little bit of an arrogant egomaniac and maybe Paul is just an out of touch, out of date boomer with FUD lore. However, I think that you should give these two companies a shot because the guitars that they make, for whatever it's worth, are extremely good and they're employing a lot of people in the United States and afar with the PRS factory in Indonesia. And for whatever it's worth, their crazy ideologies and crazy personalities are making incredible guitars. Some of the best guitars I have ever played in my life. So hashtag stop Kiesel hate, and to the Kiesel cult, I apologize for offending your God Emperor Jeff by my minor criticism of your guitars. And to the young TikTok Zoomer furry crowd, please give Paul a chance. Just because he's a boomer doesn't mean that he's a loser. Kumbaya! Hashtag love, hashtag 4269420.
Hello, little baby. You have a good girl.